All right, guys, so we're going to look at Unit 4.01 this week. So this is going to be our lymphatic system. So we're going to go through a couple slides today, and then we'll go through a couple slides tomorrow. In this video, you will probably need to pause to take notes. I'm not going to pause to see how long everyone's going to take notes, but you can definitely pause if you're going to take notes and do that as well. So we're just going to go ahead and jump into it. The more I hate presenting online more as well. So sorry if this is going to be fast. I'm going to try to not speed through everything and take my time as well. All right, so we're going to start with the structure of the lymphatic system. So we have what is called lymph. This is going to be our clear fluid that goes between our capillary blood and tissue. So it's just running throughout our body. It is composed of water, lymphocytes, oxygen, digested nutrients. Those are just kind of the main ingredients, and then it has some other things within it as well. There is no red cells or protein within lymph because they are too large. And then there's no pump, so it moves by skeletal muscle action. So whenever our muscular system is moving, that lymph kind of moves with it as well. And then we have our lymph vessels. So they transport excess tissue fluid back to the circulatory system. So if you remember way back in Unit 1, our circulatory system is going to be our heart. Um, and they have parallel veins, which means they are running side by side to each other because the veins only flow in one direction. This will prevent the backflow from happening. Um, and then they drain into our larger lymphatic vessels as well. So we do have something called our thoracic duct. This is going to be the largest part of the body. You can kind of see it here. I don't know if you see my mouse, but this light green area here is going to be our thoracic duct. It's going to be the left upper body and all of the lower body. The right lymphatic duct is going to be this dark green area here. It drains lymph from the right upper body. And then we have what we call our lymph nodes. You've probably heard of these before. You can find them in your neck, right underneath that jaw, under your armpits, kind of throughout the body. Whenever we do have like an infection or something, these usually swell up to identify that, hey, there's an infection in the body, and that lymph is trying to go in and attack it. But what the lymphatic nodes do, like I said, they're tiny oval-shaped structures located throughout the body, but they produce that lymphocyte. So that lymphocyte is there to attack that infection before we have to get an antibiotic to really attack it. Those lymphocytes are trying to attack it naturally. They filter out that harmful bacteria, and then they can become inflamed if it can't destroy the trapped virus, bacteria, or other illness. So for me, like when I get strep throat, the lymph nodes in my throat or neck area usually swell up. And that's usually like my first sign of, hey, I have an infection somewhere. And then my throat will get sore. And then I'm like, oh, I definitely have strep throat. I need to go get checked out, get an antibiotic, and get this taken care of. And then we have our tonsils. So our tonsils are actually going to be part of this lymphatic system. So those are going to be the masses of lymphatic tissue that produce those lymphocytes and filter bacteria within our the back of our mouth and the upper part of our throat. So we have what's called our palatine. This is going to be located at the back of our throat. So these two glands here are going to be what's known as our palatine. And then we have our lingual. This is going to be located at the base of the tongue. You can't see it in this picture here. It's not labeled, but it would be down here. And then we have our pharyngeal. This is going to be the part at the top of our mouth, right where our nose and our pharynx meet. Excuse my dog in the background as someone just did a package. Who? Stop. Hey. Sorry. Please pardon my dog. A little fun part of my day. All right, so moving on. So the next structure we have in our lymphatic system is going to be our spleen. So this is going to be a sac-like mass of our lymphatic tissue. It is going to be located in that left abdominal cavity, just below that diaphragm. So remember we talked about this briefly in Unit 1. We were talking about the quadrants and all of that. We heard of the spleen, but we didn't really talk about what it was. But their spleen is just going to produce those lymphocytes and monocytes. It is mainly there to filter the blood. It also stores lots of our red blood cells and destroys any fragile blood cells that we may have. So it's really there just to kind of keep that blood circulated and kind of keep it stored as well. And then we have our thymus gland. This produces lymphocytes as well. It is located in the upper anterior part of our chest. So it is above that heart. Um, it is part of our lymphatic and endocrine gland system. So we will talk about it next week as well when we talk about our endocrine system. So just know that a lot of times, a lot of these structures are working hand in hand. They're also doing multiple tasks, so they don't have to be just labeled into one system as well. This is the most active during our neonatal and pre-adolescent periods that produce those lymphocytes, just because those are the times where our body is most fragile to infection or bacteria. So think about a newborn. They are very their immune system hasn't quite developed. So our body is going to create those lymphocytes a lot more to try to fight off the infection. Same thing with pre-adolescent. Our bodies are changing. We're going from child to an adult. So our bodies are very vulnerable for infection there as well. So that's why our bodies are going to create this natural defense system. And then we have the functions of the lymphatic system. So we're going to look at the fluid balance, lymphocyte production, filtration, and immunity. So the first two we'll look at is our fluid balance and our lymphocyte production. Our fluid balance, it just diffuses out of the fluid, out of the blood with nutrients. Some diffuse back in with waste, but most of it is going to diffuse out with that blood. The vessels empty into the veins through that right lymphatic duct and thoracic duct. So remember, way back here, this is going to be that right thoracic duct, and then, or that right lymphatic system duct, and then this is going to be that thoracic duct or the left side of our body. And then we have our lymphocyte production. The lymphocytes travel through the lymphatic system, through the lymph nodes. They are activated by those viruses, bacteria, and other harmful substances. So whenever we don't have any like bacteria or viruses, they're just kind of hanging out, chilling. And then once a bacteria or virus or infection enters our body, they are ready to go. That's when they start doing their thing and start attacking. And then we have our filtration. Our lymph nodes act as filters by detecting that bacteria, virus, or foreign substance. So that's why those lymph nodes swell, because that's that indication to those lymphocytes that, hey, there is something within the body that should not be here. And then we have our immunity. So our immunity can be broken down into a couple different categories. On your nose, it'll kind of look like a tree. But immunity in itself is the body's ability to resist disease. So obviously, our bodies are built to fight off natural diseases. Sometimes we need help from medications, but our bodies are made to break it down a lot of the bacteria and viruses. So we're going to look at some ways that the body can be immunity through natural immunity, acquired immunity, and then our acquired will break down as well. And then we'll look at two more. So, what's the difference between natural immunity and acquired immunity? Natural immunity is going to be immunity we're born with. So, our organs, our tissues, cells of the immunity system, um, how well our immunity system acts can sometimes be a genetic thing that is passed down. If you have a weak immunity system, um, and your mom has a weak immunity system and your grandma has a weak immunity system, that is something that's genetic. If you can be around people who have strep throat all the time and never get sick, then you have a stronger immunity system. So that natural immunity system is there fighting that. Our acquired immunity system is going to be immunity developed during our lifetime. So this can be gained through passive or active. So we're going to look at both of these as well. So our passive acquired immunity. Um, this is going to be a response to antibodies received. So this is where you get shots when you're a baby that kind of help with any future problems when it comes to bacterias. A mother's antibodies to the baby. So whenever you give birth, sometimes when she breastfeeds, that breast milk is getting pumped into the baby, but it's also giving them the antibodies they need to fight off infections. And then you have your artificial injections related to a specific disease. So the one that comes to mind is going to be like the meningococcal. So that vaccine is in a shot that you can take as a child. And then it gives you that resilience to that vaccine or that bacteria in the future. And then you have active acquired. These are going to be developed in response to an infection or a vaccine. So with that, say chicken pox. Chicken pox is something you only get one time. So if you get chicken pox as a child, that is the one only time you have it because that body has now seen that virus or that bacteria, and it knows how to fight it naturally. But our active acquired is going to break down into two more. So we have our natural and our artificial. Natural acquired is going to be developed antibodies in response to that infection, like I was saying, like the chicken pox. That's a natural acquired. But artificial acquired is going to be a developed antibodies in response to a vaccination. So a lot of those shots, vaccines, COVID vaccine, flu shot, they're putting that into your body and having the body create a defense system to that. Okay. So that is where we're going to stop today. Tomorrow we'll pick up on the cycle, the immune response cycle, and then we'll look at some of the disorders in the lymphatic system. Once I figure out how to stop recording.